Ladies and gentlemen, I can't tell you how badly I wanted to sit here and talk about a win. What that would have meant, beating a ranked team. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Carriker Chronicles, the People's Show, where we check the pulse of Husker Nation, brought to you by DPS Concrete Construction. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net. Also, our good friends at Husker Auto Group. Check them out at huskerautogroup.com. This sucks. It does. But this isn't all doom and gloom. I actually see some positive signs. Now, what ultimately sucks is that we lost to our 28th strength ranked opponent. Well, 28th strength game, we've lost to a ranked opponent. Our fifth straight loss in a Big Ten opener, lost to a one-score game. Matt Rhule's now 2-11. All that stuff sucks. There are some positives. We're going to dive into it all, just like we always do. All right, hit the like button. If you still are here, and it doesn't matter, you're always going to support Nebraska football. Subscribe, ring that notification bell. If you just want to support this channel, we appreciate it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's light this candle. As we do, we're going to go backwards before we go forwards all the time. Now, as always, in the comments, send me your questions, your comments, your thoughts, your concerns, etc. I'm going to go a little bit longer tonight than I normally do. I want to get to everything. Okay, we do have a lot of bye-week stuff coming for you as well. Osborne's going to join me on Monday, just an FYI. I'm going to put out a special Monday evening edition of the Carriker Chronicles on Monday. We still got stuff coming out. Got the Sunday night show. What's next for Nebraska? All right, let's go backwards before we go forwards. Bud Crawford leads Nebraska out. It was so freaking loud before the game. I'm trying to talk to my daughter on the phone. Not only could I not understand her, I couldn't hear that she was talking at all. And I was like yelling and screaming and had the phone next to me. The atmosphere was phenomenal. Husker Nation brought it. Nebraska fans deserve to get some big wins in the future. 1995 team was honored. That was phenomenal. They walked out. Bud Crawford led the team out. In the pregame introductions, I couldn't help but notice the guy who got the loudest ovation from the fans, or the loudest reaction, was Archie Wilson, the punter. All right. I should mention, I put out a video on TikTok of Bud leading the team out. And then lo and behold, right at the end of it was Prince Amukamara standing right next to me. I was like, holy crap, Prince. And he threw the bones, and he's at the end of that video if you check it out on TikTok. All right, the flyover at the end, it was phenomenal. They did a flyover over the stadium. It was awesome. That will never not be cool. Now, as we know, Nebraska entered the game as a 1.5-point underdog today. Nebraska gets the ball. Dana Holgorsen did some things he hadn't shown all year. If you look back through his offenses over time, he loves two-back sets. And it splits the defense is what it does. He came out, right? They had a couple of dynamic sets and formations, play calls that he hadn't shown all year, including a two-back inside handoff. Nebraska goes down the field. Now, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. Did you like Matt Rhule going for it? All right, on 4th and 2 inside Michigan's 10-yard line, Nebraska goes for it instead of kicking the field goal, going up 3-0. They tried a little shovel pass to Luke Lindenmeyer. It does not end up working. A trip inside the red zone, first possession, inside the 10-yard line. You get 0 points. All right. It doesn't help that our short yardage game has not been great. Think of the tush push. Think of other times we've not been able to get short yardage gains. Do we miss Dante Dowdell in that aspect? Maybe Quentin Ives could be that guy. He's got to accelerate in that department a little bit. Let me know. Did you like him going for that or not? Personally, I would have kicked the field goal. This is coming from an ultra competitive attacking. I'd almost rather lose attacking than win being conservative, almost type of guy. I would have said, hey, bam, this is a big, we went right down, we scored, we're inside their 10, let's take the points, positive things are happening. But if a coach wants to go for it and he wants to be aggressive and he wants to play to win and isn't worried about not losing, I got no problem with that. If we convert, it's the greatest call you've ever seen. We don't convert, now it becomes divisive, and we're chatting about whether we should have gone about it or gone for it or not. I personally would have kicked the field goal. I respect having the huevos to go for it and attacking. Let me know in the comments. Nebraska Matt says, I liked it if we got points, but we now know if we get those 2 field goals, it's a win. I'm not even talking about the fact that we lost by a field goal. I was just saying in the moment that would have been my initial reaction. Oh, Frank Solich was there at the game, by the way. I took a picture with him. I'll probably put that in tomorrow's show. It's his first Nebraska game that he's been to. Peep this, since 2003. That was crazy. All right, Michigan does get the ball at their 5-yard line. So there's a bit of a field position, aspect to this as well. You don't convert, they get pinned at their 5-yard line. Now, Nebraska forced a 3 and out. Michigan only punted the ball for 24 yards. We get the ball at the 37-yard line. Okay, and now there was a little bit of an assist to the Nebraska crowd. It caused Michigan to have a false start. Like, Nebraska's fans were rowdy. It was Colorado-esque today, no doubt about it. All right. Now, our drive unfortunately stalled with a sack, the first of, I was going to say a few, but the first of unfortunately many. And then Kyle Cunanan misses a 44-yard field goal, his first miss of the season. He was 4-4 coming into this game, misses the 44-yard field goal. Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff to break down, a whole bunch of stuff to look into. All right, you can find a whole bunch more stuff at CarrikerChronicles.com as always. Articles, shows, pictures, breakdowns, picks from the games, highlight videos, etc. CarrikerChronicles.com. And I'm like tweeting on Twitter, on X, posting on Facebook, putting videos out on TikTok throughout games. So you can always follow me on the social media, okay, if you're ever interested in that. Now, let me see. Let's move on to the next thing here. Michigan actually had 2 touchdown passes that they dropped. Bryce Underwood threw a beautiful pass, okay, and it was dropped. And then Michigan blew a certain touchdown when they ran a trick play. Wide receiver Samaj Morgan underthrew Davivan McCulley. I hope I said any of those right. So they actually left points on the field as well. It was a big break for Nebraska. All right, Michigan still leads 3-0 at this point. All right, Michigan had gotten a field goal by this point, I should mention as well. And this led to a rough sequence for the Huskers. All right, at this point, Dillon threw his first interception of the season. It was a tip pass. Okay. Bryce Underwood then ran the ball in a 37-yard touchdown. They had way too many big runs today. The trenches was an issue. We're going to get into the amount of rushing yards that we allowed, almost 300. How many yards per carry we allowed, almost 9 yards per carry, versus we had 1.4 yards per carry. And I've got the stat written down. I want to say 43 total rushing yards. We didn't get anywhere near as many sacks on their quarterback as they did on ours. They got 7 sacks on ours. I don't know our sack total yet. I'm trying to think of one off the top. Dasan McCullough had one. I'm having a hard time remembering another one off beyond that. So when it came to running the ball, stopping the run, they were better in the trenches. You win Big Ten football games, Big Ten openers, ranked matchups against good teams in the trenches. Being able to protect the quarterback, get after the quarterback, run the ball, stop the run. That's where they beat us today. That's where they beat us. All right. That's where they are better right now than Nebraska is. And that puts Michigan up 10-0. The 37-yard touchdown run by Bryce Underwood, who's starting to come into his own, I might add. That's a talented dude right there. I can see why they're paying a reported $10 million for him. Michigan's first drive, by the way, was 10 plays, 46 yards, 3 minutes, 22 seconds, covered 46 yards before they got the field goal. I forgot to mention that drive that led to their first field goal of the game. You know, they didn't get inside our red zone, even though they had 27 points. They didn't get inside our red zone until their last drive of the game in the fourth quarter because there were so many big plays, so many big runs. All right. Elijah Judy, the next time they got the ball, forced a fumble. Okay, and Deshaun Singleton recovered it, which led to a Nebraska 39-yard field goal made by Kyle Cunanan. So that makes it 10-3 at that point. Okay, let's see. Dylan Raiola showed he was sacked 7 times. He actually showed a little bit of elusiveness in this game. There's some positives to take away from this game. This is the team that will fight. They don't lay down. They don't quit. Okay, Dylan Raiola played well. If you look at his stats, what was he, 30 of 40? 30 of 41? Like above 70% completion percentage, threw for over 300 yards, couple of touchdowns. The one Isaiah Hunter at the end, all right, Isaiah went out of bounds, came back in. I mean, I thought Dylan played well today. There's positives to take away from this game. We will get to it all. Okay. Unfortunately, the sack that led to the drive stalling so Cunanan could kick the 39-yard field goal, there was a sack. It was a 3-man rush. So what Michigan was doing, just so you know, Michigan was in the first half anyways. I didn't watch this particularly as much in the second half. I started watching other things. In the first half, they went to a bare front. So that's a nose guard right, head up on the center. So you got to snap and block this big old fat dude. I can say that. I was a former lineman. You got 2 D tackles. They're lined up as 3 techniques in the B gaps. Now, whether they're D tackle, 300-pound bodies, you can debate. And then they have defensive ends. So you got 5 pass rushers on 5 O linemen. Now, they weren't always bringing all 5. Sometimes an end would drop, somebody else would drop. Sometimes all 5 would come. Sometimes 2 would drop and 3 would come. That's what happened on that one sack. Sometimes it'd be a 4-man rush. But that's what they were doing. You look at Nebraska, though, they had controlled the time of possession after the first quarter. It was almost 10 minutes in our favor, 5 for Michigan. But you look at 8:58 left in the half. Michigan started to rack up the sacks. They had 3 sacks with 8:58 left in the first half, and they'd only allowed 3 points. All right. Now, Ja'Cory Barney, man, he played well today. He caught the one punt at the 3-yard line, ill-advised. How do you not love this kid, though? Because the next time Michigan punts, we get the ball, and he returns it for 20 yards. It really sparks the whole crowd again. It gets everybody back into it. All right. Barney, by the way, is the first Husker to have a 100-yard punt return, to be a 100-yard punt returner in a season since 2019, J.D. Spielman. That's good for us and Barney now, not so great for the past 6 years. All right. Critical moment does go Nebraska's way. Here on a 3rd and 8, all right, from the Michigan 26, the Wolverines show blitz. They did back off. Dylan Raiola made a nice throw. Okay. A 26-yard touchdown pass over the middle to Ja'Cory Barney to tie the game at 10-10. Now, that was huge because Nebraska's 3 third-down attempts prior to that had been a 7-yard sack, an interception, and an 11-yard sack. So that was their first third-down conversion in 4 tries, which led to a touchdown, tied the game. All right. Let me see. 2:01 left, 10-10 before halftime. Now, if you kind of watch, they let Dylan make a bunch of checks at the line of scrimmage. If you watch that play, I have to go back and watch it again on film, but it looked like Dylan made some sort of check at the line of scrimmage. Okay. It was kind of a check that he made, something that he saw, an adjustment that he made, audible, if you will, at the line of scrimmage, because they trust him to do a lot. And again, he played well today. This is not on Dylan Raiola. One of the positives I take away is Dylan played well. We did not win in the trenches on offense. We did not win in the trenches on defense. And we left points on the field. My 3 keys to the game, 4 actually. If you watched my preview and prediction show that went out last Tuesday, I said stop the run. Number 2, stop the run. I was going to do 1 through 10, stop the run, but I stopped there. I said, number 3, we can't leave points on the field. We got to be better in the red zone. And that's what I said. And I said number 4. I forget what number 4 is. I think it might have been Husker Nation, the home. Oh, it was do the little things. It was do the little things. The little things didn't kill us. It was bigger things that hurt us, unfortunately. All right, Michigan, they have the leading rusher in the Big Ten in Justice Haynes. He'd rushed for over 100 yards for 3 straight games. He'd had 3 straight games with a 50-yard touchdown run or longer. Very next play, 1 play later, Justice Haynes. All right, Michigan starting running back, 75-yard touchdown run just up the left side to the short side of the field. Puts Michigan up 17-10. All right. Now, we had a safety who had an opportunity to make a tackle in the hole, and he missed it. In fairness, that is a big hole. That's a lot of space. One-on-one. Now, that is what you get paid for now in the era of NIL and the transfer portal. But it's a lot of space. He's a really good runner. We had a few D linemen out of position. All right. You could argue maybe Buford overran the play, so the safety could have had some help. Makes the safety miss. Boom, he's gone. All right. Nebraska looked like they had a twist up front. Michigan blocked it up. If you run a twist and it gets blocked, you're going to leave a lane. And Michigan blocked it up on that particular play. All right. Now, Nebraska kept fighting back. That's one of the other positives. There are years when we've watched Nebraska play and they don't. This was an inspired effort by them. They were down 10-0 and fought back. Big, you tie it up 10-10, bam, next play, 75-yard touchdown run. That can be deflating. Nebraska comes back. All right, Raiola, we're going to get into this sequence a little bit. 52-yard Hail Mary touchdown pass again to Ja'Cory Barney, who actually, if you watch, caught it short of the goal line. If he catches it and assumes he's in and falls down, it's 17-10 at halftime, not 17-17. He caught the ball and fought to get in the end zone. This dude fought all day. Dylan Raiola fought all day. We got our butts whooped in the trenches, but there are guys on this team that fought. Ja'Cory Barney, how do you not love that dude and his effort? Now, I'll be honest with you. I didn't understand what Rhule was doing. And it looked to me like him and Holgorsen got in a little bit of an argument, if I'm being honest with you, about how they were going to handle our last offensive possession going into the half. I think Holgorsen wanted to attack, and Rhule was kind of letting the clock run, not taking timeouts, running the ball. Seemed like he just wanted to get to the half down 17-10. Sharon Moore is not there. BJ Pogge, the interim head coach, all right, for Michigan, doesn't call a timeout. It's 4th down. The clock gets down to about 1 second left. Rhule's like, timeout. And now Rhule looks like a genius, whether you like what he was doing before or not. It looks like a genius at this point. We got one shot for Hail Mary. We don't get it. It's halftime. Boom, Hail Mary, touchdown, 17-7 going to halftime. Michigan's defense made adjustments in the second half. In fact, our first down of the second half did not come until about 3-4 minutes left in the third quarter. It was via penalty. Real quick, I do want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors and good partners for the show. We're going to get back to breaking down this game. 626 Auto Service in Lincoln. 626autoservice.com is where you can check them out. They're located at 2405 P Street in Lincoln, Nebraska, locally owned for 20 years. Ask for Dean Phelps. He's the owner. Eric or Jeff as well. If you go in, tell them that Adam, sent you. They do great work at a very reasonable price. As you probably know by now, we have kids who are driving. So whether it's my wife, myself, my kids, this is where we take all of our vehicles to be taken care of. Nobody's better. Trustworthy, integrity. Love these guys. Do reasonable price, great work. Everything from oil changes to engine replacements. They offer shuttle rides, loaner vehicles, and financing as well if needed. 626 Auto Service in Lincoln. Check them out at 626autoservice.com. Oh, social media post of the day. Jordan Westerkamp put this out. Hail Mary. Nice. I thought that was pretty apropos by Jordan. All right. It kind of reignited the crowd again. There were plays that were made throughout this game that helped reignite the crowd. And Ja'Cory Barney was involved in 2 of the first ones. So shout out to him. I should note, you could hear the offensive coaches yelling and screaming from their part of the press box or whatever you want to call it, from where they were located at, as the touchdown pass was happening on the Hail Mary. Now, both teams left points on the game, left points on the board in the first half. From Michigan dropping a couple of touchdown passes to us, a missed field goal, maybe you kick the field goal on the first drive. Again, I don't hate the decision. Everyone loves it if you convert. Personally, I would have kicked the field goal, but I'm not going to get on a coach for being aggressive at all. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. I will say this, there were some mistakes on the field, but these teams were fighting, scratching, clawing. This was a much more exciting game than I honestly thought it would be. I thought it had the potential to be kind of I don't want to say boring, low-scoring game, but it was not boring. These were 2 teams who were playing inspired. Let me get to some of your questions real quick. All right. Our D-line is too small. Great game, Stacey Hunter. Our offensive and defensive lines are awful. Edward Durst. Andrew Smith. That's cool. The Solich was at the game. It was very cool. And he lit up when he saw me, too. I'll include the picture tomorrow. We threw the bones together. Would have been more apropos after a win. But that was before the game. Fred Sacco. O-line is bad. D-line isn't what it was. But that offensive line, 3 left tackles who are poor and 1 right tackle who's perpetual walking. Okay, I'm not going to read the rest of that. If you've had 3 major injuries and you come back and you're trying to play and you're doing the best you can, I'm not going to say anything negative about an individual like that. The offensive line as a whole needs to play better. I will say that. It doesn't help that Elijah Pritchett, he was paid 7 figures to come in and he's 3rd string. I'm not getting on the kid, but he goes in the game in the first half, gets called for a false start. Again, you brought him in and you paid him that from Alabama for a reason, and he's not starting. That creates an area where you needed help that you don't have that help. All right. Halftime stats. First downs. Nebraska 14, Michigan 6. Michigan was 0-4 on 3rd downs. 4th downs, we were 1-2. Look at it. Listen to this. Total yards, Nebraska 253, Michigan 195. Pass yards, 210, Michigan 41. 210 for Nebraska, 41 for Michigan. Rush yards, 43. Did we not have any rush yards in the second half? I believe we ended with 43. No way. Let me look at that real quick. We had 43 at halftime. We had 43 at the end of the game. We had 0 second half rushing yards. I didn't even realize that till now. Michigan had 154 rush yards at halftime. They only ran the ball 12 times, and they averaged 12.8 yards per attempt in the first half. They ended the game almost 9 yards per attempt with almost 300 yards rushing. We ran the ball 22 times, only 2 yards per carry in the first half. I believe we ended with 1.4 yards per carry. All right, and we had the ball for almost 20 minutes. They barely had it over 10. I will say this. There were things. Nebraska was fighting. Every time we got down 10-0, we came back. Boom, they hit the big touchdown run. Boom, we come back with an amazing Hail Mary. I'm going to go with amazing. All right. Michigan only ran 21 plays in the first half. Okay. The start the second half with the ball, the Blackshirts force a 3 and out. Ja'Cory Barney catches a punt on our 3-yard line. Ill-advised. Dana Holgerson started to put an extra offensive lineman in the game. Actually, this was the second time he did it. I believe it was Turner Corcoran, I'm pretty sure, and tried to run the ball behind him. I don't know if that was something that persisted throughout the second half. I really don't think it was. All right, the Huskers punt 3 and out. Now, here's a side note. Michigan's wide receivers had gone 22 straight games without a wide receiver catching at least 100 yards. And they had 0 pass completions last year, a season ago, if you didn't know this, of over 40 yards. I've never heard of that before in my life from a major college football program. They've only had one 100-yard pass catcher, period, in the last year and a half, and that was their tight end a year ago, Colston Loveland. All right, Michigan's next drive results in a career-long 56-yard field goal. Michigan up 20-7. The Huskers' next drive stalls. Dylan Raiola sacked for the 5th time so far. Ernest Hausman, I mean, he's the Big Ten's leading tackler. He was Michigan's leading tackler and a captain a year ago. I mean, he's from Columbus, the former Nebraska Cornhusker. I guarantee this game meant more to him. All right, Dylan Raiola's career so far. This was an interesting stat. Non-conference games, 7. He was sacked 5 times coming into today. Conference games, 9. He was sacked 29 times coming into today. So does that make it 36 now at this point? All right. Now, Nebraska at that point was trying to keep running backs in to chip and tight ends to chip. So a chip block is, bam, you hit the defensive end or the edge guy rushing as you go out on your route. You can still go out on your route, but there was one play where Emmett did it and our tight end did it, Luke. Boom. So they were both late getting out on the route. Dylan had more time, but everybody else was covered. By the time they got out, it was a little bit too late. I'll tell you right now, as an edge rusher, I hate getting chipped, mostly because there's these short little backs that hit you right here with the helmet. It freaking hurts. But the fact that we had to do that was because the offensive line was struggling. 5:40 left in the third quarter. Michigan, okay, here we go. Michigan's backup running back, Jordan Marshall, 54-yard touchdown run. Michigan up 27-17. Michigan really on that play, it was a huge hole. They're blocking. They controlled the line of scrimmage. He had 2 holes. He just hit the one and bounced outside and took it in. All right. Let's see. The Huskers, this is where we got the first down of our first down of the second half. 3:30 left in the third quarter via taunting penalty. Thank you. Nebraska. All right. We were not great in the red zone today. At this point, I made the note. We'd been in the red zone twice. We'd come away with 3 points, 1 field goal, 0 touchdowns. All right. Now, I should note, Michigan tackled very well today. They made several open field tackles that stopped us short of a first down or prevented a 5-yard play from being a 10-yard play or a 10-yard play into a 20-yard play, and it kept it to 10 and 5-yard plays. As the game wore along, we missed more and more tackles. Michigan had a late drive. I'm just going to get to it. Okay, Michigan sacks Raiola again, 6 sacks so far today. Our tackles are having a hard time. Michigan's pass rushers are just dipping and ripping, and they were getting lower and underneath of our tackles weren't getting low enough. They were dipping and ripping and just getting underneath of them. Start of the fourth quarter. This is the first time the Huskers have trailed all year heading into the fourth quarter. Nebraska, first play of the fourth quarter, Kyle Kernan's 38-yard field goal makes it 27-20. We're within 1 possession at this point. The team never stopped fighting. They didn't. There are frustrating things to take away from this. And there are positives to take away from this. I can genuinely say I believe this is the best team we've had in the past 3 years. And I know that sounds silly, but there's going to be people who are like, we suck again. We can't do it again. We should be the best team since Matt Rhule's been here, and we are. Now, we got things to get better at as well. Okay, that was a 12-play, 55-yard drive for Nebraska. Kyle Kernan, 38-yard field goal. We're down by a touchdown. Michigan, at this point, has 3 rushes that have totaled for 176 yards or their 224 rushing yards so far today. And at this point, I made a note. They have 3 running backs averaging over 10 yards per carry. One of them was averaging 10.1. One of them was averaging 11.3. One of them was averaging almost 20 yards per carry. He didn't have a lot of carries, but he had some big runs. Here we go. Michigan punts on their next possession. Okay, Rhule even did an interview going in the fourth quarter talking about the pass defense has been good. The run defense has got to get better. Our next drive ended with Michigan's 7th sack so far. I wrote, good Lord. All right, one Michigan player whose name escapes me. And I thought he had 3 sacks. I don't think he had 3 sacks because there were 7 different Michigan players with sacks. Some of them had half, some of them had 1.5 sacks. So that was not accurate. Michigan's next drive, this is where the tackling came in on our end. 16 plays, 77 yards, 8:46 off the clock. They converted 3 straight third downs. This was their first drive into our red zone all day because it had so many long touchdown runs. They end up converting a field goal, 30-20. There were several tackles that we missed, unfortunately, on this drive. Michigan tackled better than we did, and they won the trenches. That was really the biggest differences I could see in this game. We'll get to more. All right. The Wolverines, let me see. I already talked about that. I just noted the announcers were talking about it, so I wrote it down. Our 28th consecutive, I don't even want to read this, 28th consecutive loss to our AP ranked team, fifth straight Big Ten opening game loss. Matt Rhule's 2-11 on one-score games. Blah. All right, Nebraska kept fighting. That's what I wrote. Okay, Nebraska kept fighting. Raiola actually played well. Okay, wrote that as well. 30 of 41, 308 yards. He hits Harburg with a play-action pass in the flat. It's 30-27. Nebraska needs an onside kick. We don't get it. Michigan ends up running out the clock. Wolverines win 30-27. I've got my final reactions and my final takes and my questions for you fine folks at home, but let's get to some of your comments now. Jay Cannon, Michigan is good. They're rebuilding. Their years are going to be 2026 and 2027. I don't disagree with you. Bryce Underwood is a stud. I think we got a pretty good quarterback of our own who played really well in a tough game versus a good team today. All right, let's see some of the other. Brandon Watts is called tackle football and tackling from single-digit players. Brandon doesn't think was consistent. Like, if I'm being honest with you, Michigan beat us at the basic football things. There are things that we did well. Raiola played well. Ja'Cory Barney played well. Anytime it looked like Michigan was going to pull away, bam, we'd fight right back into the game. Even at the end, you need an onside kick. The odds are not in your favor, but we're within an onside kick. This is not a moral victory. Michigan beat us. They beat us in our house. They beat us with the true freshman. They beat us without their head coach. They're banged up. They're missing a starting offensive guard. Their tight end, who's their real only good pass-catching threat, is banged up. They're banged up, and they beat us with all of that. This is not a moral victory. There are positives to take, though. I can see why Matt Rhule said I like this team from a mental perspective, because there's been other teams I've watched in the past half decade who would not have consistently fought back and even been in a position at the end of the game to be able to have a chance to kick an onside kick. They would have gotten down late, and Michigan would have pulled away, and the floodgates would have opened. A quarterback who's running for his life as much as he was, yet still completed almost 75% of his passes. And the one INT he had was a tip pass and found what Dylan Raiola earned respect from me today. Our special teams is better. I wish we hadn't missed the field goal. There are things to be optimistic about. Again, I never said 10-2 college football playoff, 11-1 college football playoff. I said 8-4 is a successful season, not jumping for joy for that. I said 9-3 and I'll jump for joy. We beat Michigan State after a bye week, which will be favored at home. We're 4-1. I don't want to get too far ahead. Let's throw a fit, and then we can gather ourselves as the week goes along. That's the process. You get really, really mad. Then on Sunday, you get less mad. Then on Monday, oh, it wasn't that bad. Then by Tuesday, Wednesday, okay, we could win the next game. By Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we're going to win the conference again. That's the weekly cycle. Am I right? You can't speed through that. You have to go through the grieving process. Is that right? Okay. Michigan is a team of men, nothing like they played the last 2 weeks. Yeah, Michigan's the best team we played all year, unequivocally. All right, here are my final reactions. I got 7. Number 1, it was an inspired effort by Nebraska. Number 2, Nebraska fans deserve a big win from their team this season. Let's beat a ranked team at some point this year. We don't play a lot of them. Michigan had big runs of 37 yards, 75 yards, 54 yards. I'm not going to mention the yards per carry and total yards again. The run game. 4th, 7 sacks, pretty much 8 by Michigan. The trenches. They beat us in the trenches, and they beat us in tackling. When you go to coach youth football, like Pop Warner kids, it's blocking and it's tackling, and it's getting off blocks. Blocking, getting off blocks, tackling. They beat us in the fundamentals of football. They're just better at that right now. The red zone, we left points on the field. Dylan Raiola played well. This team has heart. Those are my final takeaways. All right, here are my questions for you fine folks at home. They're brought to you by Husker Auto Group. Check them out at huskerautogroup.com. Also, DPS Concrete Construction. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net. My first question is, do you feel better or worse about Nebraska after this Michigan game? You can just say better or worse, or you can elaborate. Number 2, what's your grade for Nebraska's performance versus Michigan today? You can elaborate or just say A, B, C, D, F. All right, number 3, will Nebraska beat a ranked team before this season is over? You can elaborate or just say yes or no. All right. Again, check them out at HuskerAutoGroup.com and DPS Concrete Construction at DPSConstruction.net. We still got more content coming at you. Osborne, my Sunday night show, Sunday and Monday. Go Big Red. Always remember to throw the ball.